sad. In Italy, a young black man was he tried to break up a fight and he was beaten to death by Italian men. Um, so pretty much it's
Well,
what's
he was
happening.
Italian black too, right?
Yeah, like second generation. But Italy actually, it's been an increase of kind of Islamophobia in Italy of beating up African immigrants, Chinese immigrants because of COVID, and which has actually been an increase in Italy, and this has kind of been, I guess, the
Look at all those mask wearers.
yeah,
They're able to protest and wear masks at the same time.
this is pretty much it's reached this bloody tipping point here of him being of this man being beaten to death.
Yeah, and this is not necessarily just a Trump issue, because a lot of people just try to lay it at Trump's feet. The entire planet, Europe, and the United States, like they've got like these. I don't know why they're calling it right wing, because you can't put politics on hate because somebody's got melanin in their skin.
Yeah,
Like that's not a political party. That's just
and this is
a degradation of humanity overall.
so this is terrifying because he was a second generation immigrant. He was murdered. He wasn't he didn't just come off the boat. He Rome was his home, and so he tried to he saw a friend get
It's just like
saw a friend get beat up, and then he got fatally beaten up himself by four Italian individuals, including four brothers with prior records. And
Yeah.
unlike in the United States, when we have a president who's instigating even more violence, the prime minister went there and gave respects. It became a national.
But you know what
moment.
fucks me up though? You know, we've heard recently about how some people believe that if you see something like that happening, that you should just jump in.
Yeah,
You know, and the thing is, like, it's great that people are rallying around this young man,
yeah,
but what the fuck does that do for him now?
yeah,
Like, he had a whole life to live. But, you know, there are people that just think, hey, you know, he's a male, so his life is, you know, just throw it away.
yeah.
You know, call the fucking cops when you see shit like that happen. Like, unless you pack in heat, don't, you know, like, then it won't just be the person that they're beating up to death. You'll be one of them too, and that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, unless you know how to like fight six people with pipes and crowbars. Then
Yeah, unless you're that hung guy that we watched
yeah, it was so,
last week.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, unless you're gonna Jackie Chan these motherfuckers,
yeah, better step
or you got the strap, or you got the poker.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, they beat him to death.
yeah.
Like, you know, I would rather just be shot in the fucking head than beaten to death.
So Phil can play this next clip.
How you doing, Corin?
So it pretty much gives a background of
They
like,
busted some far right dudes who had like a surface to air missile.
that is,
What? Like,
I can believe that in Italy. So Phil could play this next clip.
we're living in a Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
A very, very violent version
The
of it.
funeral for a young black man brutally beaten on the outskirts of Rome last weekend was mostly held behind closed doors on Saturday.
This is one of the things that I really do appreciate. You're seeing more and more white people stand up for you know, victims of injustice like this. You're seeing more and more of them stand up.
Yeah.
And, you know, the only way that we can get them to continue to keep coming forward to try to turn the tide is to welcome them. You know, I don't like this whole ally stuff. Nah, like, you see something's wrong and somebody else sees something's wrong, welcome them. Like, if you both agree that this shit shouldn't be happening, then band together.
Justice for Willie banner and wearing white t-shirts in his memory. Among those attending was the
Wow, look at all those
ambassador
masks.
Cape Verde,
And they're able to
the
walk
origin
and wear the
of
masks at the same
Duarte's
time.
family.
I think they're able to breathe.
No, we don't know yet. We don't know. We haven't confirmed if it's a hate crime yet. But the thing is, it's been a climate in Italy that it could be a hate crime. And I want to play this next clip. I had a darker clip. Actually, had someone got beat up and he didn't die. But I think this kind of shows you kind of how media can affect the atmosphere of a country, even in Italy. And this was like a
A
little.
recent report by Italy's intelligence agency has
Blocking is
warned that racism and xenophobia are among the main threats the country could face in 2019. A few months ago, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle
You're right,
Bachelet
M-Star
sent
27,
a team to Italy
100%.
over reports that migrants were being victims of racist attacks. We were told the mission work is still
So this is a
ongoing and
report
that the
that-
result has
From
not been disclosed
2019,
yet.
before COVID, before
We
this
met
man was
one of
beaten
the
to death.
victims. 3 years ago, Jerry was punched in the back by a stranger and fell off the bus. An unprovoked attack that left him completely paralyzed. Jerry's
What?
crime, according to his attacker, was to ask him to give his seat to a pregnant woman. Today he lives here at Villa Rachele, a clinic for people suffering from mental illness outside Naples, the only place that would grant him a long stay.
Back of man.
He punched me from behind, I fell down, and that was it for me.
Finish. I can
never walk again. He broke my hands. I have no power left anymore.
That is hate.
Jerry's lawyer, Hilary Sedu, has been mainly working with refugees. His story is one of success. He arrived in the country from Nigeria when he was 1 year old. Today, he's the first African-born lawyer to be a member of the National Association of Lawyers in Naples. Sedu does not believe Italy is a racist country, but the problem, he says, is that it lacks what he calls social inclusion.
Should integrate those refugees who land in Italy, but those who grew up here, who are born here from immigrant parents, they don't need to be integrated into Italian society. They're born in it. Instead, they need to be included in order to have
Exactly.
the
Wally
same
was a
opportunities
second
as an
generation.
Italian.
Una sorta di equità.
But is the trend increasing since this government was elected? Due to the lack of resources, it is difficult to answer that question. We met Grazia Naletto, who works for Lunaria, an independent organization often used by media outlets for its up-to-date information.
The political rhetoric is very violent, very aggressive towards refugees, asylum seekers, and Roma people. This triggers hostile and at times violent social behavior towards these groups of people.
According to Lunaria, 2018 was a significant year that saw an increase in xenophobic and racist violence. This was also the year when Luca Traini opened fire
Looks like they're
and
driving
injured
in the
6
middle of the
migrants
street
of
and just got
African
distracted by
origins
that.
in the city of Macerata. Deputy Prime Ministers Matteo Salvini and Luigi Di Maio have dismissed the idea that there is a rise in racist attacks in the country. They've called it an invention made up by the left. Giorgio Orlandi, Euronews.
That sounds
Naples.
familiar too.
So that guy invented his spine no longer working. He invented that.
So you have the same thing. You have fake propaganda saying the threat is not real. You have the rise of it before COVID. Like you said, 2018 it was going up, 2019 it was going up, and now you have actual people dying. So that's what's going on in Italy.
Yeah, but it's a myth.
Yeah.
That guy sitting in a wheelchair, that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Waffles. Like she's just standing in the middle of the street and doing a report, just gonna get hit by a trolley or something. But
Nah, I think they have more sense in that country than in ours. In our country, you didn't run the fuck over.
it's so like this is terrible. So I just want to give people perspective and also realize that you saw those videos that we just sent you. Like it was crowd. It was full. The streets were full of people. So it's not like this person died and no one gives a shit. There's actually a movement rising in Italy as well against the xenophobia that's happening there as well. So that's something to kind of feel positive about at the end of something so horrible.